Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review after Everton's 1-1 draw with Leicester City at Goodison Park last night. A very hard 4-point for Everton, quite a difficult game to watch. Certainly in that second half it wasn't great whatsoever, was it? But we managed to get through it, we got a point out of it, and to be fair, you know, if it wasn't for an individual mistake, we could have gone on and got the 3 points. And I don't just want to sit here and, you know, continue to bash Jordan Pickford, because I know he is the massive elephant in the room at the moment in terms of this game last night. But the fact of the matter is we were put under a lot of pressure in the opening 25 minutes. We sort of dealt with it, we dealt with it very well. James Rodriguez scores an absolute worldie, and then we sort of get into the game a little bit. We start to get a foothold on the game, we start to control the ball a little bit, get forward, create chances, but then the half-time whistle went and practically we come out in the second half and we just got bombarded from the first whistle until the very last whistle. It was relentless pressure by Leicester and they were always going to break through. Yes, it was frustrating with the way in which they scored, but just to analyse this game as a whole and generally, I think when you look at this game, you sort of have to look at it and think, right, we've taken a point there in a very important game. This was a must not lose rather than a must win, really, and we've done that without two of our best midfield players in the team. Obviously Alan and Abdoulaye Doucouré missing yesterday through injury for Alan and suspension for Abdoulaye Doucouré, so it is a decent result given the circumstance. It's a decent result. Was the performance brilliant? No, it wasn't. It could have been much better. You know, ultimately we all know that the second half performance was very defensive, but that type of defensive performance has been one that, you know, we've become accustomed to Everton, you know, putting in recently, and it's worked for us an awful lot. It worked against Leicester away from home at the King Power earlier on in the season. It worked against Chelsea, it worked against Arsenal, it worked against, you know, various clubs. Certainly in recent weeks we've turned up and we've adopted that sort of defensive formation where we sit back and we allow the opposition team relentless amounts of pressure and they continue to break us forward. And like I said, you know, usually it works, and we're sitting here the day after talking about a fantastic result and a fantastic performance and the fact that we've gone out and we've won the game even though we've come under a lot of pressure. Whereas today, like I said, it's a little bit different. We haven't won the game, we haven't lost the game, which I suppose is important as well. Like I said, if you're not going to win it, definitely don't lose it. And we come away with a point against a very good side. 4 points taken off Leicester this season. Leicester are Champions League contenders, possibly even league title contenders, according to some people in the media and some companies like Sky Sports, etc. So, you know, for us to take 4 points off them and you know, again, like I said, you know, drop points due to a silly individual error that could have been avoided, and if it was avoided, you know, we may have gone on to win the game. Who knows? Look, Leicester, like I said, they were coming forward an awful lot in that second half, and they may have scored on another occasion. If it wasn't that one, it may have been another opportunity of one of the many balls that they thrown into the box and one of the many chances that they created. But like I said, you know, it was a decent result, all things considered. It is frustrating because we were 1-0 up and, you know, like I said, we really didn't come out in the second half. I think the game plan was very much to just defend. And like I said, you know, that's worked in previous games. And to an extent it worked yesterday. The defence I thought was absolutely excellent yesterday. Ben Godfrey, again, another outstanding performance playing left back. Michael Keane, Yerry Mina are absolutely fantastic as well. I thought Mason Holgate done a solid job at right back. I thought we had issues in the midfield in terms of movements off the ball. I think individually Andre Gomez and Tom Davies done okay, but off the ball it wasn't an awful lot of movement. We saw what James can do within the opening 25 minutes, and the forward line wasn't particularly brilliant either. Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison didn't have their best game. So considering we, again, were a little bit off form and we had two big injuries or two big players missing to the side, should I say, it's a decent point to come away with. It really is. If you're enjoying this team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. If you're not involved live, you get involved in the live comments. We'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Let us know that you are here. If you could share the stream as well on social media, that would mean an absolute great deal to me as well. I'm not too sure if it's my YouTube or what, but there isn't any comments coming yet, so I'll refresh it in a second if that is still the case. But if you are watching live, drop us a comment, let us know that you are there so I know everything is working fine. And yeah, like I said, we'll get straight in to the review. So Everton started again, on the back foot, Leicester were coming at us, they were pressuring us, they were throwing opportunity, they were throwing players forward. Harvey Barnes started really, really bright, and we all knew that was going to be the case ultimately. Look, when we lined up yesterday, and we had a midfield three of a midfield two, effectively, of Andre Gomez and Tom Davies. Luca Dean obviously played on the left-hand side. James Rodriguez played on the right-hand side. And then you had Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up top. So it was a midfield two of Tom Davies and Andre Gomez. And I don't actually think either player had a particularly awful game yesterday. I just think when you look at the pair of them, they've not got any energy. They've not got any intensity. They've not got any real sort of work off the ball. They run around and they get involved, but again, sometimes that's not good enough. Sometimes you need somebody like an Abdoulaye Doucouré who's going to throw himself into challenges, who's going to be that big presence in the centre of the midfield. And like I said, on the ball, Tom Davies didn't particularly do awfully yesterday. Andre Gomez didn't particularly do awfully, but off the ball, the work rate just wasn't there. I thought it was, whether it's the work rate's not there or whether it's just they didn't have the energy to keep up with Leicester's midfield, it's probably more the latter, to be fair. And Leicester's midfield did come with a lot of energy. The likes of Harvey Barnes was, certainly in that first half was very, very threatening. James Maddison was starting to threaten. Youri Tielemans was threatening, and we knew that was going to be the case from the off. And Leicester probably looked at this Everton side, prior to kick off at 7 o'clock when the team news come out, and thought, right, okay, they've got a couple of decent footballers in the centre of midfield, but they haven't got much energy there. So if we can overwork them, if we can get at them and push them and make sure that when we've got the ball, we're constantly on the move and we're constantly getting forward, and when they've got it, we're putting relentless pressure onto them, then, we should be alright. And I feel like that was the team talk from Brendan Rodgers, because that was what Leicester ultimately set out to do. Every time they had the ball, they moved it forward with pace. They were a lot quicker than us. They were a lot more sharp than us. They looked fitter than us, to be perfectly honest with you. But again, when you look back and you analyse the game, that is sort of understandable, because Everton set up with a very similar style, it seemed, as one that we've seen a number of times in recent weeks, and one that's worked on a number of occasions in recent weeks as well. It's not like we can sit here and say, oh, that defending a lead hasn't worked. We beat Chelsea defending a lead, we beat Leicester away, which was a massive win, defending a lead, we beat Arsenal defending a lead. So it's not like we can honestly sit here and say, oh, why have we gone out with that style? Why have we gone out to just purely defend? Because, usually, certainly under Carlo Ancelotti, when we've scored the first goal and we've sort of put everyone behind the ball, we've been able to hold that game out and win the game of football, which is, obviously the most important thing. So I understood it. Leicester were quick. Leicester were fast in midfield. They come at us. They created opportunities. Obviously, they started with Jose Perez up front in the absence of Jamie Vardy, but they didn't really look faded by the absence of Jamie Vardy. And maybe that was something that Everton should have actively pursued a little bit more in the second half. I said it in the instant match reaction yesterday. I feel like it got to a point in that second half, maybe with 20-25 minutes to go, where Leicester was sort of sitting there thinking, right, okay, these are hitting us on the break here. Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't having a wonderful time. Richarlison isn't having a great time. So we don't really have to fear them hitting us on the break. We can just go and try and get a winning goal. And ultimately try and get an equaliser, because at that point it was still 1-0 in the game. So again, we struggled for the first 25 minutes to put up with that. We were solid, don't get me wrong, defensively we were very, very solid. There was no sort of defensive errors. Everything that come in got dealt with, especially by Yerry Mina and Michael Keane, who I thought were absolutely unbelievable for the entire 90 minutes, and they dealt with everything that come in. And again, like I said, it was sort of the type of start that I don't want to say we expected, because I expected Everton to be a little bit more sharper. I expected Everton to sort of tone the game down to our pace and to our level, but given the Leicester side and given the pressure and given the ability in their midfield and given the energy as well, you did expect that outcome for the opening 25 minutes. But it was always going to be about, right, can we just settle it down now, calm it down, keep it to our level, keep it to our pace, and sort of frustrate Leicester, almost like we did, in the away fixture, where it got to the last 5, 10, 15 minutes of the game, and I don't even know whether they ran out of steam. They just seemed like it was like, we don't know what to do here, so we're not just going to keep on going forward because we don't know how to break this Everton team down. And maybe that was the tactic from Carlo Ancelotti, was to just approach this game and think, you know what, if we just defend and keep a high back line, maybe they'll get to a point where they think, you know, what more can we do to break this Everton team down? And it did get to about 20-25 minutes in, and things calmed down, and we started to get a little bit of control of the game. We started to put our foot on the ball. James was creating opportunities, getting on the ball an awful lot more. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was making runs. Luca Dean was having a little bit of success down that left-hand side, of course, starting as a left midfielder for the second time in a matter of a couple of games. Obviously played there against Wolves a couple of weeks ago, and we were sort of looking at it thinking, right, okay, calm it down now to our level, maybe go out and get a goal, and then, you know, possibly just revert back to defending, and then hit them on the break if we can again. And that's exactly what we did. You know, 20-25 minutes into the game, it's sort of settled down at this point. Well, I wouldn't say we're consoling it, I wouldn't say we're absolutely fantastic, but it's sort of settling down at this point. James Rodriguez picks the ball up. He tries to play a ball into Luca Dean, I believe it is. He gets the ball off Luca Dean. It comes across. Luca Dean plays it in. Back to James Rodriguez. He tries to pass it into Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's making the run. It comes off Fofana, I think it is, which is, I don't want to say a really bad touch. It seems to just hit Fofana, doesn't it? I don't want to go in on him. It comes back off Fofana into James Rodriguez's path. He takes a touch, gets it on his right foot, and just absolutely curls it in to the top corner. It's absolutely exquisite. In off the post, on his weak foot, showing exactly the quality that man has. If you've put a comment in the live stream, by the way, I'm unable to see them for the moment. I'm not too sure why. They just don't seem to be coming through. So if you are watching us live, if you could just put a little comment in. Jess has put a comment in. Hi Jess. If you could just put a comment in, that would be absolutely fantastic, because I don't know whether it's just YouTube not showing any of the live comments. So big thanks to everybody that is watching. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave your comments in the comment section down below as well. If you could leave a like, if you could share the stream, it would mean a great deal to me. But like I said, James Rodriguez picks the ball up from Luca Dean, takes the shot, it's deflected off of Fofana. It's a little bit of a heavy touch from Fofana, comes back out to James, he shifts it onto his right foot, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. It's a fantastic finish in off the post on his right foot, and all of a sudden Everton are 1-0 up in a game that you're looking at and you're thinking, how are we 1-0 up in this game? We've been bombarded pretty much for, you know, the entire sort of first 25 minutes. We haven't had many of opportunities. We haven't even had the ball in possession many a times. They've had pretty much 99% of the play. They've come forward, they've threatened us. They haven't really been clinical, but again, and we've defended well. But again, that relentless pressure really did look like it was starting to hurt us, and out of nowhere, James Rodriguez pops up with exactly what, you know, we signed them for in the summer, and that was that one bit of magic that can change games of football. And it's an absolutely unbelievable finish. It's a fantastic finish, and again, it just really does show you the ability of somebody like a James Rodriguez. He is a world-class player, an absolute world-class player, and when you have somebody like that on your team, who when you're struggling and when the pressure's on and when you're being bombarded with balls into the box, and you're being bombarded with the opposition coming at you and bypassing your midfield far too easily, and then within a moment you're 1-0 up through an absolute sheer piece of magic. Again, that pass to Dominic Calvert-Lewin was intercepted well, and Leicester probably thought, right, okay, we've got the ball back out to him, close it down, get it out, nothing stupid. Now, within an instant, he's got it, he's turned it on his right foot, and he's bent it in right off the post. It's an unbelievable finish, and that's exactly what a player of James Rodriguez's quality brings to Everton Football Club. He brings that little bit of magic when it's so desperately needed, and it was so desperately needed yesterday, and it calmed the game down a little bit more. Like I said, we had improved before the goal, but only slightly, and again, it just seemed like Leicester were maybe having a little bit of a 5-minute cool down period from that opening 20 minutes where they were relentless, but within that cool down period we'd gone 1-0 up, and all of a sudden we'd switch the game into our style and exactly what we wanted. We'll sit back, we'll defend this all day, we'll keep a strong back line, we'll keep a really good shape, and then we'll hit you again on the counter-attack, exactly like we did at the King Power Stadium. And that first half pretty much It really did. It seemed like that. And we had another couple of opportunities during that first half as well to maybe get another goal up. It wasn't any real clear-cut chances, but we broke forward, and Richarlison was lost in possession on a couple of occasions. Dominic Calvert-Lewin just couldn't get on the end of a couple of balls. But again, it seemed very reminiscent of that game a few weeks back, where we've sort of been under the cosh a little bit. We've sort of been against the run of play, and we've scored. We've gone 1-0 up. Richarlison it was at the King Power with a fantastic finish. This time it's Hammers with an unbelievable strike, and it's like, right, okay, slow it down to our level now. Nothing stupid, nothing silly. Defend as we've been doing. Keep a strong back line. Keep a good sort of positioning throughout that back line, throughout that midfield, and then just frustrate them. And we did that for the remainder of the first half, to be fair. We go 1-0 up, and we see the first half out very well, and it's exactly what we expected. We expected Leicester to come out firing from the off. We expected players like Harvey Barnes and James Maddison and Youri Tielemans to console, and I suppose the second half performance, we should have been warned by periods in the first half performance about the second half. And by that I mean, in that opening 15-20 minutes of relentless pressure by Leicester, they were coming forward an awful lot, and our midfield did look really non-existent at times. And like I said before, I don't think Andre Gomez and Tom Davies had a particularly awful game individually. I think they done okay. Certainly with keeping their foot on the ball and sort of playing it out. But as a pairing together, as them two individually in a midfield two, there's just not enough energy there. And we saw that at times in that opening 15-20 minutes of the game. And that was them being completely bypassed and completely overrun. On the ball, like I said, not many issues whatsoever. Off the ball, they just weren't quick enough to intercept. They weren't quick enough to throw the challenges in. They weren't quick enough to ultimately hinder Leicester's relentless pressure. And James Rodriguez scored in whatever it was, the 30th minute, 35th minute. We go 1-0 up, and we sort of calm it down a little bit, and you're thinking, right, okay, we've seen this half of football out now. Brilliant defensively, no issues defensively whatsoever. If we can continue in this run of form, if we can continue playing like this, and we can just go another 45 minutes like this, then we can get the 3 points. And ultimately, we knew at half-time, and I think I put it on Twitter, that this is going to be one of the most difficult halves of football we'll watch all season, and it really was, because we knew that Leicester were going to have gone in at half-time thinking, how are we 1-0 down in this game? We've conceded to an absolute bit of magic from a world-class footballer. We shouldn't be 1-0 down. We've been the better team. We've had the more possession. Let's go out and, show that. Ultimately, let's go out and get a goal back. Let's go out and attempt to win this game. And that's exactly what they did in that second half. And like I said, that opening 15-20 minutes where we were put under a lot of pressure and we seemed to just struggle to get our foot on the ball a little bit in the midfield, and the midfield was bypassed an awful lot. We've seen an awful lot of that in the second half as well. It wasn't great to watch, was it? Let's be perfectly honest. It was not great to watch at all. It was negative, some would say. But others, listen, it's a difficult one, this, to talk about, because ultimately if Jordan Pickford doesn't make a howler and concede that goal and we go on to win that game, or let's say, for example, not just to dig Jordan out, but let's just say in general we don't concede a goal and we go out to win that game, even if it was the same type of performance, even if we were bombarded for 45 minutes in the second half, even if it was a very difficult half to watch, we'd all be sitting here today saying it's a brilliant result. We've won another game of football against a tough side without a couple of key players in the team. It's a brilliant result. But like I said, the game against Chelsea was a brilliant result. The game against Arsenal was a brilliant result. The game against Leicester away was a fantastic result. But they weren't easy games to watch. I remember watching the Arsenal game and it was stressful to watch. The Chelsea game was stressful to watch. Leicester away at times was stressful to watch. They scored. They scored in the last 20 minutes, which was ruled off for offside, and they had a penalty overturned by VAR. So there was nervy moments in all of those games, just like there was nervy moments in yesterday. So it's difficult to sit here and say, oh well, we were a bit negative, we should have gone for the game a little bit more, we should have been a little bit more cutthroat, etc, because ultimately defensively, in terms of the back line, I thought we were absolutely fantastic yesterday. I thought Yerry Mina, Michael Keane, Ben Godfrey, even Mason Holgate put in really good shifts yesterday. I've not got a bad word to say about any of them. They were brilliant. like I said, if we go on to win that game, that's the focal point of this live stream. That's the focal point of all Blues conversations for the next couple of days or so, is how good were we defensively? We've gone out and we've won this game of football. The reality of the situation is we were put under relentless pressure in the second half. We conceded, which wasn't a surprise. I don't think anybody was surprised to see us concede. And then, you know, Leicester continue to come forward and we're searching for the winner. But the irony of this situation is for how poor we were in that second half, for how much pressure we were put under, for how much possession Leicester had. We had the two best chances after they scored. We had the two best chances to win the game in the last 10 minutes. Three best chances, I'd say, actually, to win the game. Richarlison has a free header from a corner, which he should be doing so much better with. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has a very similar header to the one he scored against Liverpool, where Luka Dean plays a brilliant ball in and he's got the jump of his man and he just guides it out. He can't guide it towards goal. And then Andre Gomez has one where a corner comes in and he's just not concentrating whatsoever and it hits him. It just hits him and ricochets off him, and maybe if he was a little bit more concentrated, he could have swung a foot at that and had an opportunity to score. Maybe if, I don't know, maybe if it just hit him in a different body part, it would have settled a little bit quicker, but it seemed to just hit him directly in the stomach and then bounced off him. But we had the three best opportunities after they'd scored to go on and win that game, and the reality of that is that probably makes it a little bit more frustrating. If Leicester would have had two, you know, free headers in the box in the last 10 minutes and missed them, if Leicester had the ball dropped to, I don't know, James Maddison in the box and it takes a nasty deflection and bounces off, and we're probably sitting here going, you know what, we're lucky to get a point there. But I don't think we were lucky to get a point. Was it the most, you know, unbelievable Everton performance? No, it wasn't. Did we have an awful lot of the ball? No, it wasn't. But that's not how football works, certainly in this day and age, because we beat Chelsea. They had a lot of the ball, sound, but they lost. We won. We beat Arsenal. They had, I think, the better of the possession, absolutely sound. We won. We beat Leicester at at the King Power. They had the better of the possession, doesn't matter. We won. We beat Wolves a couple of weeks ago. I think they had more possession, doesn't matter. We won. So football isn't based on, oh yeah, we had loads of possession and we threw loads at you, so we, you know, should have won. Ultimately, football's based on how well you defend and how clinical you are going forward, and we defended very, very well yesterday. Yes, we conceded a silly goal, which we'll talk about in a moment, but we defended very, very, very well, and we had the three best chances to win the game. Name me a chance in that second half that Leicester had that you genuinely thought, that's it, that's game over, that's game one for them. It wasn't that whatsoever. We had the three chances that you're sort of sitting there thinking, that's it. I remember jumping up on the couch saying, that's it, that's the one chance, we won't get another one. When Richarlison puts that header wide, Dominic Calvert-Lewin 2 minutes later puts another header wide. I said we won't get another chance. Forced to Andre Gomez in the box in the last seconds of the game. We do need to be more clinical in those areas. We do. And ultimately, I think that adds to the frustration, is the fact that we were so poor but still had chances to win the game and didn't. But, you know, like I said at the start of the team, you take a point in that game, you take a point all day long. If you'd have said to me at 7:15 when that team news was released and I knew that we had two players in midfield who were decent footballers but have got about as much energy as, I said it in my instant match reaction yesterday, me wallet sitting next to me, if you'd have said, would you take a point in this game? Honestly, I'd say yeah. I'd take a point in this game as long as we turn up on Saturday and we absolutely obliterate Newcastle. We need to win on Saturday. This is a must-win game. We can't turn up with the same style of, yeah, let's just sit back and defend, let's just hit Newcastle on the break, because they are absolutely shite. They are shite. We need to turn up with a similar style and a similar tactics as we did against Brighton at the start of the season, as we did against West Brom at the start of the season. Turn up with James, Richarlison, Dom in full throttle, maybe even Alex Iwobi in there, and go and win the game comfortably. This game on Saturday isn't one for sitting back and defending for 90 minutes, because Newcastle aren't as good as Leicester. They're not going to have as much pressure, they haven't got as much quality, and we shouldn't allow them to do that. And if we're sitting here on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock and Everton have won and beaten Newcastle and we've gone further up the table, then you sit back and you think 2 wins and a draw in a week, and the draw being against a very good Leicester side who were very close to breaking into the Champions League spots without our two best central midfielders. And I had a comment on the instant match reaction yesterday about James Rodriguez, and I think somebody was a little bit confused and said, Cam, don't you class James Rodriguez as a central midfielder, or do you think he's not good enough? I class James Rodriguez as a forward. So when I'm saying our best central midfielders, I'm talking about Alan, Decore, and then the other central midfielders are Davis, Gomez, Sigurdsson, Gabam and Delph. So James Rodriguez, I don't class in that bracket. Yes, he's played in central midfield, and yes, he's very good there, and yes, that's his natural position, but we've seen more of him on the right-hand side. And even when he does come into central midfield, he's an attacking player. He's always looking to create, he's always looking to go forward, he's always looking to attack. I'm talking about midfielders as in those that sit in front of the defence, and we didn't have our midfield yesterday. We didn't have our two best players there, and ultimately, not only are they our two best players technically in that position, but they also bring energy. Abdoulaye Doucouré brings an energy that can't be replicated. Tom Davies can't replicate it. Andre Gomes can't replicate it. And like I said, neither midfielder yesterday had a game where you're sitting there going, he was absolutely dreadful, he was awful, this, that and the other. On the ball, they done well. Andre Gomes had a couple of occasions where he turned and he passed it off and he looked really, really sharp. Tom Davies had a couple where he completely turns his man. But off the ball, they just weren't quick enough. They just weren't first to every ball. They just weren't keeping up with Maddison, keeping up with Harvey Barnes. And that was why we were heavily overloaded in the centre of the midfield. I want to get on to the goal in a second. I also want to get on to talking a little bit more about James Rodriguez and the defence. Let's get into the live comments. The comments are starting to come in now. Massive, massive thank you. If you are watching live, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the live stream as well if you are new. If you're watching the YouTube video, again, a massive, massive thank you for watching. Please do leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Gord says, hi mate, how you doing? Paul says, yes Cam, yes Paul, how is mate? John says, Carlos Blues, we're all cheering Spurs tonight, Cam. Certainly is Carlos Blues, right. Arthur Dodger says, should Olsen start from now on? I think he should, certainly on Saturday, to be honest with you. Again, we'll talk about Pickford in a moment, because I don't want to go too deep into him, because he has improved recently, and he has been a lot better recently than, you know, we're used to. But ultimately, again, I said it yesterday, football is a ruthless sport, and if we want to be a side that are fighting in the Champions League and fighting for league titles in the coming years, we can't afford to have a goalkeeper that's costing us games in that way. And I know it was hit hard at him, and I know the weather, and I know the ball would have spun, and I know he had a couple of players in front of him. Carlo Ancelotti's alluded to the fact that he had, you know, a lot of legs in front of him and he couldn't quite see it. But if you're getting a hand on that ball, then you simply need to either catch it, keep hold of it, or if you're going to palm it, if the wind and the rain and the players in front of you, etc., mean that you can't get a clear sort of hold on the ball, if you're going to palm it outwards. Don't palm it behind you. Don't palm it to an angle where you know it's going to hit the post and go in. I just think it was a really silly mistake. Garcia here says the four centre-backs plus Olsen would make the defence very strong. He also says, yesterday we were missing a loose Richarlison and DCL. I agree. Cameron says Spurs to win 4-1. Fair enough, mate. Matty Lamb, what's happening, Matty? He says, I'm loving James Rodriguez playing a more central role closer to the Dom. Do you think this allows us to go after another winger? I agree, mate. I agree. I think James dropping into that sort of 10. And it's difficult to really understand where James Rodriguez plays, isn't it? Because, you know, again, he started yesterday in the in the central midfield role with Davis and Gomez behind him, and you had Richarlison and Dean on the wings, but he just moves about, doesn't he? He doesn't play in one position, he doesn't stick to a position. He may start on right wing, but you can guarantee 10 minutes in he's come over to the left, or he's come into the centre, or he's dropped deep to pick the ball up. And he did that yesterday. He was dropping deep to pick the ball up. He scored his goal from the number 10 position, if you like. So I agree though. I do. I think he seems a lot more comfortable playing in that central role. He seems to create an awful lot more. He isn't looking for that Luka Dean ball as much as he is on the right hand side, and maybe that's because when he's on the right hand side he can see that run by Luka Dean, he can see that space, he can see that opportunity to put the ball into the box, whereas when he's in the middle, he's more looking for the direct pass through or for Don to run behind the line. But I agree, and it absolutely does allow us to sort of go after another winger, somebody with a little bit of pace, somebody with a bit of intensity, ability to take players on, ability to get past players. Cameron says, sell Rich and Gapaz, we are fine fourth. I wouldn't sell Richie, mate. Matty says, I'm also torn whether to go after an attacking right back or to stick to Holgate for solidity, which might allow us to go after a more attacking box-to-box central midfielder rather than a number 6 to protect the back four. Fair enough. And Near Def says, get rid of Pickford. He is shite. Well, we'll talk about Pickford in a moment. But like I said, Everton go in at half-time, 1-0 up again. Another absolute unbelievable piece of magic by James Rodriguez. And that's what having a player like James Rodriguez in your team does. James Rodriguez is world class. Make no mistake. I will not be told anything other than the fact that James Rodriguez is a world class footballer. He can turn a game on its head in an instant. And that is exactly what he did for Everton Football Club yesterday. We were being overrun in the midfield. We were struggling to get any foot on the ball. We were struggling to create. And he gets the ball back. He turns in on his right-hand side. He's got no option to pass. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think, is in a position with a couple of players blocking him. Richarlison sort of, again, out the game. Luca Dean isn't really in the greatest position to get a foothold on the ball. So what does James do? He thinks, you know what, I'm going to put it on my weak foot, by the way, outside of the box, and I'm just going to bend it straight into the back of the net, off the post and in. It's an absolute exquisite finish. It's an exquisite finish, and it's world class by James Rodriguez. And we saw that against West Brom. We saw against West Brom at a point in the game where I wouldn't say we were struggling, because I think we were controlling that game, but we were a goal down, I believe. We were, we'd conceded against the run of play. It wasn't the greatest start, and all of a sudden he's picked the ball up outside the box, without anybody really knowing what he's going to do, and he's turned in and he's slotted it back at the net. That was with his left foot, this one's with his right foot. It's an unbelievable finish, and that turned the game on its head. That, I think, give a lot more confidence to everybody else in an Everton shirt. We sort of slowed it down to our level a little bit. It frustrated Leicester. They were again struggling to break down our back line because it was so solid, and we were sort of having a little bit more luck going forward, trying to create. But like I said, we get into half time and you're thinking, look, it's a hard-worked first half performance. It's not great. It's not been unbelievable to watch, but it's a hard-worked first half performance. If we can go out, if we can do that again, then, we should be able to hold this game out. Certainly if recent form has said anything. And the second half was exactly how we, I think, assumed it would go. Very difficult to watch, quite frustrating, not easy, and ultimately the type that if you win, you go, phew, thank God for that. That style has me on the edge of my seat and I'm panicking, but we've won the game again. Whereas when you don't win, and when you only take a point, even though it's a good point, you sort of think, well, should we have been a little bit more expansive? Should we have attacked a little bit more? Should we have hit them on the counter-attack a little bit more? And ultimately, again, like I said, they stepped it up a level in the second half. They were very, very good. They were continuing to press at us. We did slot back into that shape of just, right, okay, let's just defend now. Let's just purely focus on not conceding. Let's just purely focus on seeing this game out. We dropped into a back five, I think, at one point with Luca Dean adopting his natural position at left back. I don't think Luca Dean had a great game, to be fair, at left midfield. He did put an unbelievable ball in for Dominic Calvert-Lewin at the end of the game, which should have been converted, but ultimately wasn't converted. But I don't think he had his greatest of games whatsoever. And the pressure was coming, and, many people could sit there and say it was always going to happen. We were always going to concede. And I actually think Jordan Pickford is at fault for a number of things in the run-up to this goal. Not just the shot, but a couple of things before it. The corner, Leicester, I can't remember who it is, I think it might be Harvey Barnes, throws a ball into the box and it's going out comfortably. Even the Leicester players have stopped because they know it's going out. The Everton defenders have completely stopped because they think, right, okay, that's sailing past the post, that no need to panic whatsoever. And Jordan Pickford comes out and makes this absolutely strange dive at the ball. It's so unnecessary. It's just not needed whatsoever. And ultimately, he dives at the ball. He ends up getting a connection and it goes out for the corner. And it's sort of one of them head-scratching moments where you don't really think, right, if this leads to a goal, that's dreadful. But you do sort of think in the back of your mind, why has he done that? What's he done that for? Then he didn't need to do that. The ball was going out comfortably. There was no pressure on the defenders. There was no pressure on the cross coming in. It wasn't a great cross whatsoever. Why have you just thrown yourself at that? He throws himself at it. Goes out for the corner comes in, he flaps at the corner firstly when it comes in, doesn't get a good enough connection on it, falls to Youri Tielemans on the edge of the box, he takes a shot. Yes, it was raining, yes, it might have been it with some venom, but let's be honest, it's a shot that 85% of goalkeepers in the Premier League save. And more so than 85% of goalkeepers in the Premier League, most Champions League goalkeepers playing in the Champions League save that effort. And if you're sitting there wondering, well, why you're talking about Champions League goalkeepers can win on in the Champions League, that is our aspiration. That is our aspiration. And Carlo Ancelotti's come out and defended Jordan Pickford today and said he had men in front of him and said that it was a struggle and said this, that and the other. And that's fine. That's fine, because I don't expect Carlo Ancelotti to come out in the media and say he's dreadful, why is he conceding that, it's awful, this, that and the other. He come out and he said, look, he had players in front of him. It was hard for him to save. That's it. It was a mistake. Move on. Go again. I don't expect him to come out and say anything else, but we realistically have to be looking at Jordan Pickford and thinking, if we want to be playing Champions League football, if we want to be winning trophies, if we want to be fighting at the top end of the league, is Jordan Pickford good enough? That is the simple question. And I don't want to get into the Jordan Pickford debate, because quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of 1 week it being, yeah, he's getting better and he's doing well and he's decent. The next week it's, oh, he's made another mistake that's led to a goal, get rid of him. The next week it's, oh, put faith in him, get behind. I think we should get behind him whilst he's in goal. He's an Everton player. He's clearly got the trust of Carlo Ancelotti. And like I've said about Tom Davies, as long as he's putting that Everton shirt on, I'll back him and I'll get behind him. But I think there's serious questions to be asked now as to whether Jordan Pickford is good enough and consistent enough going forward. Has he improved an awful lot? Yes. And maybe Carlo Ancelotti will give him the benefit of the doubt and say, look, you've been good for 4, 5, 6 weeks now. You've made one mistake. We're going to keep you in. You need to stop those mistakes. You need to cut them out. Because ultimately, have we dropped 2 points through Jordan Pickford? Well, very literally, yes, because his direct mistake has cost us 2 points. Might we have conceded if that goal didn't go in? Maybe, and then it wouldn't be no situation. We'd be sitting here talking about a well-earned point. And Leicester, let's be honest, deserved the goal. In fact, Leicester deserved a point out of that game. Some would argue Leicester deserved more than a point from that game. So I'm not complaining about the result, and that's why I'm not sitting here flying in on Jordan Pickford left, right and centre with this, that and the other. A, because I'm bored of it and we've all been here before, and B, because we were put under unbelievable amounts of pressure, and I do believe if it wasn't, then it'd have been on another occasion. I do believe if Tielemans doesn't hit that one and it bounces off Pickford, Maddison might have hit one 20 minutes later and it goes in, or probably more likely, we'd have got to the 89th minute winning 1-0 and then it'd have bounced off somebody's shin like it did against West Ham, and that's how we'd have conceded. So I'm not sitting here and I'm not going to fly in on Jordan Pickford because of the fact that we dropped 2 points, because we dropped 2 points ultimately to a side that were a lot better than us in that second half, and that deserved the goal and that deserved something out of the game in that second half. But it is frustrating because sometimes you have games of football where you're not very good and where the opposition team does deserve something out of it, but they don't get anything out of it. And that's the sign of sides that go on and win league titles. That's the sign of sides that go on and finish in Champions League places and in Europa League places, is those sides that come up against teams, and even when teams play well against them and even when teams dominate games, they still win the game, and ultimately they're sitting in at the end of it saying, yeah, okay, we might have been brilliant there and they might have been better than us, but we've won the game at the end of the day, so who cares? And I just think we've seen a lot of relentless football and decisions surrounding goalkeepers in recent years, not for Everton but for other football clubs, and I think maybe are we looking at that sort of situation and scenario with Everton if Jordan Pickford continues to, again, it's really weird because, for 3 weeks on the run, he'll be very, very good and he won't make any errors and he mightn't necessarily have a lot to do, but the simple things that he has to do, he'll do well. And that's always been the issue with Jordan Pickford, is it's the simple things. It's the easy shots to stop. It's the easy corners to come and collect. It's the easy saves to make that he gets wildly wrong. If you've got a one-on-one, let's say, for example, if Youri Tielemans would have broken one-on-one with Jordan Pickford yesterday, I'd have put good money on Jordan Pickford saving it. I really, really would. I'd have put good money on Jordan Pickford pulling out a world-class save. If it had been hit at Pickford from 3 yards out in the box, I'd have put good money on him getting a connection on it and making a save. But it's those efforts that are hit tamely from outside of the box. We conceded the goal against Leeds in a very, very similar fashion. Okay, it wasn't a specific goalkeeper error as bad as that one, but ultimately it was still at his near post and he should have been able to save it. It was practically a carbon copy goal of the one that we saw yesterday. We conceded one to Liverpool, which was disallowed, thankfully, but again, it's gone under him and he's thrown it in the back of the net. It's just big questions, big questions to be asked. Big questions to be asked around Jordan Pickford and around the goalkeeping position. And look, do I think he's good enough? Ultimately, that's up to Carlo Ancelotti, isn't it? I would like a goalkeeper that provides a little bit more confidence for the back line because, like I said in the instant match reaction, Yerry Mina and Michael Keane were absolutely exceptional yesterday. Ben Godfrey was absolutely exceptional yesterday. Mason Holgate put a really decent performance in, and they must have all been looking at Jordan Pickford after the game thinking, probably weren't because they're his teammates and they're his friends, but you know, deep down, they're probably thinking, we've given everything there and you know, we could have had 3 points out of this game. But like I said, the reason I don't just want to fly in on Jordan Pickford and make this the Jordan Pickford show is A, because we've done it all before and it's a boring conversation now because nothing's really changed. Yes, he's got a little bit better, but he's still making those mistakes. And B, because we were really poor for the second half. It wasn't like we were brilliant. We were fantastic attacking and Leicester had nothing, and the one chance they had, he threw into the back of the net. They had many of, you know, not specific chances, not specific opportunities to hurt us because we defended really well, but they had a lot of the ball. It was relentless pressure. They were coming forward. They were, you know, causing us real issues. So that wasn't the only reason as to why we didn't win that game of football. Again, like I said, we had the 3 best chances at the end of the game to win it, and we just didn't convert them. If you're enjoying the scene, by the way, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really do appreciate all of the support. Let's get back into the live comments then. See what everybody has to say. Near says he had his hand on the ball but couldn't save it. Yeah, and again, look, I have seen a lot of support for Jordan on social media, and that's fair enough. That's fair enough because we have to back our own. Certainly Jordan Pickford, who's come under a shitload of criticism in recent weeks and months because of an injury that was absolutely, you know, not through an accident. So I fully am behind backing Jordan Pickford, and I think you have to say Jordan Pickford has gotten a lot better in recent weeks. He really has. He seemed to have cut out those silly mistakes, those, you know, panicky moments that don't need to be panicky moments. But yesterday, it was another example of a Jordan Pickford performance that we expected 6 months ago. And maybe it's one bad performance in a run of 10 games for Jordan Pickford. Maybe it's recurring errors that are never going to be fixed. I don't know. Where are we then? Cameron says Bond, Dan DCL, well score, Morgal. Jab says last season midfield, what do we expect? Utter shite, a lot of them. But yeah, exactly. Again, like I said, it's frustrating because of the goal we conceded and the fact that we had 3 chances at the end of the game to win the game. But we come up against a very strong Leicester side. Okay, they were missing Jamie Vardy as well. But again, like I said, other than their attacking, their striker, they had a very strong midfield, a very strong defence out. And we come up against a very good Leicester team without our 2 midfielders, our 2 best midfielders, the 2 players that provide the energy, that provide the intensity, that provide the fight, that provide the passion in that midfield. We were without them, and they were replaced by 2 good footballers. Like I said, I've not particularly got anything against Tom Davies and Andre Gomez yesterday. They done okay on the ball, they were okay, but off the ball, they were just completely bombarded, and that, I think, was what we expected yesterday. Thomas says, great content, thank you very much, Thomas, really appreciate that. He says, we're improving under Carlo, and Carlo will sign more players of James' level, which will take us to that next level. Exactly, mate, James' quality, that will take us to that next level. Exactly, mate, I agree. Completely. We have to trust Carlo Ancelotti. Look at where he's got us last season. We'd have lost that game quite comfortably. We'd have dropped our heads after they equalised. In fact, we'd have probably conceded 3 in the opening 20 minutes when they were putting us under, you know, that first period of relentless pressure. Doug says, let's not forget we're only 1 point behind Liverpool with the game in hand. Yes, we are, mate, we are. Near Dev says, we need to get top 4 so we can get to the group stage. Exactly, mate. Hopefully. Dan says, "Hi, Cam. Great show as always." Cheers, Dan. He says, "Do you think we need to bring in another striker before the January window closes?" Well, there's a lot of talk today about Joshua Zirkzee. We done a little video on him yesterday before the game. It seems like he's going to be going to Parma. Now, to be honest with you, it was rumoured late last night, really late last night, early this morning, that Parma have stepped their interest up and they have submitted another bid to Bayern Munich, whereas Everton haven't. And it looks today from rumours of a couple of hours ago that Joshua Zirkzee is probably more than likely going to be a Parma player. I don't think we'll sign anybody else. I don't think we were interested in anybody else, and I don't think we'll now go out and just rush a decision to get somebody in for the sake of it. It'll be interesting to see where Cenk Tosun ends up. He's been talking about a move to Besiktas today, saying he'd happily join Besiktas again. There's been rumours about Anthony Gordon potentially going out on loan if Bernard leaves the club. So look, it's going to be very interesting the last couple of days of the transfer window. Fabio says, in Colombia national team, we have the same question. Is it better to have James closer to the 9 or starting from the right and left? I think it's just better to have him anywhere, mate. I think he's just that good. He'll play absolutely fantastically anywhere on the pitch, and he showed that again yesterday. He cuts in on the right-hand side, he cuts in through the middle, he's excellent on the left-hand side. He's just an exquisite footballer, and he's brilliant whenever he plays. Chap says, we always get asked our most improved player, but never get asked which player is in decline, and for me, that's Richie. He's struggling at the moment. I don't want to say he's in decline. Because I think he's just struggling for confidence at the moment. And I think with Richarlison, what we're more than likely going to see is 1 week he'll turn up, he'll absolutely blather aside, and he'll be back to the Richarlison that we know and love, scoring goals, getting involved, being that direct threat. He's having a tough time at the moment, confidence-wise, he's struggling, but he will return to that form. I've got full faith and belief in that. God says, James is just amazing to watch. Still can't believe anyone hasn't seen him play in an Everton kit with their own eyes. It doesn't exactly, mate. It's very, very sad, and it's going to be a pleasure when we get to watch him. Jab says, thank God Balassi has gone. Yes, he has joined Middlesbrough on loan for the remainder of this season. A Garcia says, Carlo knows that a fit James can hurt any team. He certainly can. TS says, just keep Olsen in goal, full stop. Pickford is a load of crap. DG says, Carlo's definitely looking for a replacement. Paul says, give Olsen the next 3 games, see how it goes. You know what? It's difficult, this one. We're going to do our game preview to the Newcastle game tomorrow. That'll be live tomorrow night around 4:15 again. So don't forget to look out for that one. But it's going to be really, really interesting to see what Carlo Ancelotti has to say in his pre-game press conference to the Newcastle game, which will be tomorrow, because I do think he'll be asked that direct question as to whether Jordan will start or not. And I think Jordan will start, because I don't think Carlo Ancelotti will want it to look like he's being dropped. I think we're probably more likely to see Jordan starting, putting in a decent performance on Saturday, and then being taken out of the next game. But again, it's Newcastle, and it's that whole rivalry with Jordan Pickford. And to be fair, I don't think he played the last time we played Newcastle away from home when we lost. Robin Olsen played, so who knows. Everton now says, alright Cam, I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well, mate. Thank you very much for getting involved. Don't forget to subscribe to Everton Now. Brilliant new Everton YouTube channel. Get involved there, of course. Lavovich says, I think you're right on Pickford. You could agree if Gomes... I know, why were they calling him Gomes yesterday? That's just blatantly not his name, is it? Nobody's ever called him Andre Gomes. Is it because he had the accent on the top of his, the S on the back of his name, so they just thought, you know what, let's just put a fancy little accent on it. Andre Gomes. His name's Gomez. Idiots. AKA Gomez has buried his chance. We would be talking differently. When Pickford did make the mistake, we were winning. With respect to Pickford, could play like an international for 88 minutes then. Let's be honest, what's worse, Pickford's mistake or the commentators pronouncing Gomes and Richarlison? Yeah, the commentators, mate, definitely. But no, I agree. Look, if it... Again, we can all sit here and talk for hours on end about if it wasn't for a Jordan Pickford error, we'd have won that game of football. But like I said, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin buries a header that you'd put your house on and burying, we win that game of football. If Richarlison buries a header that he pretty much buried the identical chance against Sheffield Wednesday during the weekend, then we'd have won. If Andre Gomes is a little bit more aware and he gets shot off, we probably win. And equally, on the flip side, if Leicester are maybe a little bit more clinical going forward, if Leicester have maybe got Jamie Vardy in this game, they probably go on and win it. So I just think it was an even game, not in terms of the balance of play. I think Leicester had an awful lot of the ball, and they probably, LCFC Boys is even, and mate, he's a Leicester fan, he's in the comments, he probably thinks that they deserved the win yesterday, but our defensive work was exceptional, and we had chances to win the game in the last 10 minutes, so I don't think you can really sit there and say we didn't deserve it as much as they did when we could have very easily won it, and our goal was conceded via a goalkeeping error. Philip says, hey everyone, and Joel says, to be honest, I'm not looking forward to the Newcastle game for their first win in a while, which could be our team. It could be, mate, it could be, but ultimately, the Newcastle game isn't even a talking point. We have to go out and beat them. We absolutely... This is acceptable. A point against a very good Leicester side with 2 of our best midfield players out, that's acceptable. If we don't go out and beat Newcastle at the weekend with Abdoulaye Doucouré back in the team, that isn't acceptable whatsoever. And Anthony LCFC Boy says, did you hear the commentary team saying that we have been dangerous from corners this season? We had 126 this season and haven't scored 1 yet. Well, that's Robbie Savage for you, isn't it, mate? I think he just goes on Twitter 20 minutes before the game and types in Everton, Leicester, and just tries to find out useless information. That's not even correct. They were awful yesterday, weren't they? They were absolutely awful. But anyway, getting back into the game, like I said, relentless amounts of pressure from Leicester in the second half. We did struggle. We conceded the goal. Look, it's a goalkeeping error. Did it cost us the 2 points? Probably, because, you know, ultimately the game ended 1-1, so if we don't concede that goal, we go on and win. But, you know, if we don't concede that goal, maybe Leicester keep on stepping it up a bit. Maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit after they'd scored and thought, you know what, a point away from home at Goodison Park isn't the worst result, even though it didn't look like they did. So I don't want to go in too deep on Jordan Pickford because we were very poor in that second half. And there is a big argument as to should Everton have gone for the jugular a little bit more? Should we have gone a little bit more attacking? Should we have gone forward? We were at home. Should we have played more of an attacking style of football? But I suppose the argument point to that is we have played in that style that we played in yesterday on a number of occasions before, and we've won a lot of difficult games of football doing it. And again yesterday, I think a big mention needs to go out to our defence. Yerry Mina and Michael Keane were absolutely unbelievable. They were so solid from start to finish. Defensively, Yerry Mina was throwing his head into everything. Michael Keane was getting in front of everything. Even Ben Godfrey, who was very solid. Be interesting to hear what Anthony, Leicester fan, in the comments, very sound Leicester fan, by the way, has to say about our defence yesterday. You probably feel like you should have won. But what did you think about Everton's defence? What did you think of Mina? What did you think of Keane? What did you think of Ben Godfrey? I thought the 3 of them, and Mason Allgate, to be fair, who was decent, but I thought those 3 were absolutely exceptional, especially the centre-back partnership. That centre-back partnership of Yerry Mina and Michael Keane is so refreshing to see, because for the first time in a very long time, we've got a partnership at the back that we know and we can trust, that understand each other, that understand each other's pros and cons, that understand each other's weaknesses and strengths, and that play off that, and that are absolutely fantastic. And like I said, I think both would have been sat in that dressing room thinking, what more could we have done yesterday to keep a goal out, because they were absolutely exceptionally threw themselves in front of everything. Yerry Mina was throwing himself in front of balls that were flying in, heading them away, practically making saves for Jordan Pickford. Michael Keane was throwing last-ditch tackles in, barging players off the ball, and not only the defensive work on the ball in the air, they were fantastic, but also the confidence on the ball. You know, a lot of our play comes from the back. We don't really, other than goal kicks, we don't really lash it up and just go, you know, okay, let's sort of create something that way. We do aim for Dom on a number of occasions. We try and sort of lump it up for Dom on a couple of occasions, but when that isn't working and when Dom isn't really getting the better of his man aerially, we tend to give it to Yerry Mina and Michael Keane and allow them to play out of the back. And I think recently they've been very good at doing that. Playing out the back, controlling the ball, coming out, looking confident with it, not looking like they're going to give anything away. There was a couple of times yesterday in that first half, in that first 20 minutes, where Leicester were throwing relentless amounts of pressure at us. They were getting at us constantly. They were trying to get, pin us down. They were trying to force us into making errors, and Michael Keane and Yerry Mina were just passing it around them, just comfortably passing it around them dead brilliantly, and then giving it to Ben Godfrey and playing it into the midfield, and, you know, playing it forward, giving it to Hammers, and they just look so confident in each other. They look so comfortable, and I think they were both exceptional again yesterday. Absolutely exceptional. Mason Holgate again, very solid at right back, very solid defensively. Did get caught a couple of times by Harvey Barnes with his pace and his energy, but for the whole he was very solid. And Ben Godfrey at left back was just exceptional, mate. Absolutely exceptional. That lad is unbelievable. He is, I'd like to say he's signed in the summer, but James Rodriguez signed for Everton on a free transfer. I don't think we can comprehend how important that is. James Rodriguez cost less than this as their own brand still bottle of water, by very literally. And we've seen exactly what James brings. He's an absolute world-class footballer. But Ben Godfrey has been brilliant for Everton this season, considering he's played most of his football out of his natural position, considering he's played most of his football at left-back. He was exceptional again yesterday. And again, we saw that sort of, you know, that pace of Ben Godfrey where a player seems to think he's got the run on him. As, you know, I think Tielemans and Barnes maybe did on a couple of occasions. And Ben Godfrey just seems to slip it into like second gear. And it's just an absolute steam train. And, you know, he's covering the ball, he's shielding it out. He was just brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant again yesterday. Very, very solid, very consistent. And the whole back line, like I said, was very, very good. And yet, you know, ultimately, we saw the game out. We take a point. It's not the worst point in the world. The midfield done okay, but on the ball done okay, but off the ball, I just think there's not enough energy there. Wasn't really impressed with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like I said, the three chances we had at the end of the game, Dom's chance, Andre Gomez's chance, and Richarlison's chance. You look at that, and maybe in hindsight, you look at it and you think, okay, the difficult chances. You know, Andre Gomez is flying at him at a pace. Richarlison's is maybe a difficult head. The same with Dom's, but ultimately, you know, to win games of football, you have to put them away. You simply have to put them away. And we didn't, and we weren't brilliant yesterday. We weren't on form. The second half wasn't a fantastic watch by any means, but it was a very good defensive performance. And we come away with a point. We've taken 4 points off a Leicester team that are fighting for the league this season. Arguably, look, they're third in the league currently. They're fighting with Liverpool, they're fighting with Man City, they're fighting with Manchester United, they're fighting with those teams at the top of the league, and to take 4 points off them, and to do that in difficult circumstances, by the way, certainly yesterday without, you know, our two central midfielders who, you know, practically somebody mentioned it earlier on in the comments, we were playing with last season's midfield. Look at how poor we were last season. If we turned up last season and we performed like that and we played like that, we lose that game. We lose that game comfortably. Leicester comfortably beat us because that pressure, that press, that intensity, that relentlessness in midfield that Leicester brought yesterday would have just had us absolutely folded over in about a million pieces. So we don't get anything out of that game last season. We were playing with the same midfielders that we've seen on a number of occasions last season, without, obviously, with the exception of James, and we managed to get something out of the game. And again, I don't want to sit here and go in on Gomez and Davis because I thought they were alright individually, but there's no energy whatsoever. I would have liked to maybe seen a Holgate put in there, maybe seen a Godfrey put in there to add that little bit of energy and allow Davis and Gomez to be decent footballers on the ball without it really being detrimental to being overrun and bypassed in the midfield. But Carlo did not to do that. He opted to stay a strong defensive line, and we take a point. And ultimately, like I said, it ain't the worst point in the world as long as we go out and we beat Newcastle comfortably on Saturday. And if we do go out and we beat Newcastle comfortably on Saturday, then I think we look back at this game and we go, you know what, decent that. That is absolutely decent. And we take it and we move forward. But it's a big, big game now on Saturday, and it is a must-win. Not a must-win in terms of league position or worrying about anything, but a must-win in terms of they are absolutely atrocious. And if we have got any aspirations for European football and beyond, then we need to be able to beat teams like Newcastle comfortably. But it won't be easy, because it never is, because it's Everton, and it'll probably be another stressful 90 minutes like this one was yesterday. But anyway, that is going to do it for this live stream. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. Look, we will be back tomorrow live again at about 4:20 with the game preview ahead of that game against Newcastle on Saturday morning. So don't forget to join us live for that one. We'll also have the weekly news roundup up tomorrow as well. So yeah, please do get involved with that. Wimmy says, hey everybody, hey Wimmy, and says, I don't get the hate towards the tactics from you guys. We won the league playing shithouse football. Exactly, mate. Exactly. And look, ultimately, you know, that type of formation, or not formation, but that type of style of football and style of defending has won us a lot of games in recent weeks. That back line of Godfrey, Holgate, Mina and Keane has won us a lot of games in recent weeks, and it's been very, very solid. So I had no real issue with doing that. I had no real issue with playing like that. Yes, it's frustrating when you don't win, because you've watched a very difficult, frustrating performance and you haven't got the 3 points, but a point isn't a bad result whatsoever. 1878, DST, what's happening, mate? He says, yes, Cam, guess who's back, lads? See you in the Asda. Is right, mate. Thank you very much. Missed you on the live streams, lad. Is right. I'll be in the Asda probably at some point. Probably tomorrow, to be honest with you. Aaron says, was more of a park the bus second half job, and when you play that tight, it's always difficult to break down. Exactly, mate, exactly. And says, defensively, very well organised, dealt with us well, but unsure if we really tested you guys enough with Perez up top, but massively improved playing to your strengths. Exactly. I think it's a good point for both teams. Leicester have come away to Goodison Park without Jamie Vardy up front. They've taken a point away from it. And Everton have come into the game without our two best midfielders and taken a point. And I think ultimately it's not the end of the world. It's a decent point, and we have to take that and move on. Wayne says we should have just kept playing at them. The back line was strong. We didn't need to crawl into our shell, but that's what we did. Shame it's Pickford's mistake, but the strength and mentality is to blame. Lavovich says, I thought it was shrewd move by Carlo to play Dean in left midfield. It worked against Wolves. It really, really did work against Wolves. I don't think it worked yesterday, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I don't think Luca Dean had a great game at all. He did put some really good balls into the box. Having said that, that could have comfortably won us the game if Dom was maybe a little bit more, you know, I don't want to say better, but a little bit more aware maybe. But I just don't think Luca Dean looked as comfortable in yesterday as he has done recently, or as he did do against Wolves, or as he does against left back, sorry. Aaron says, switching to back five of the second half, it was just going to invite the pressure on, and eventually the goal would come at this rate. It was just Leicester, spot on. Phil says, it shows how good our defence is when Luca Dean can't get his place back. Don't forget the free kick where Richie stuck his head in the way and took it like a pro boxer. Yeah, Richarlison has come under a lot of stick as well, and I wanted to sort of avoid the Richarlison discussion because I spoke about him a couple of weeks ago and my opinions on him. Richarlison isn't sulking, he doesn't want to move, it's not any of this whatsoever. Richarlison is frustrated with his own performances, and Richarlison is frustrated in the fact that he's not scoring and he's not getting involved in the goals. Defensively yesterday, no issue with him whatsoever. I thought he was very, very solid, thought he was very good, he helped out massively. Going forward, yes, he needs to be better. He was poor and he struggled in possession of the ball, but defensively he put in a really, really good shift, and that's what he'll have been asked to do by Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo Ancelotti's probably put his arm around him after the game and said, listen mate, you had a decent game there, you done exactly what we needed you to do, you defended well, and we've come out with a point which is better than nothing. Anthony says, Ben Godfrey looked class, similar to what James Justin offers us, so versatile and able to slot in across the back line with an 8 out of 10. Exactly mate, exactly. Adam White says, as soon as Ndidi went off and Mendy come on, I thought it was game over. Lavovich says, apart from Rooney, who would you like to see back at their peak from the Moyes era in this team? Oh, don't know, you know, maybe Tim Cahill, maybe Arteta, maybe Steven Pienaar. Yeah, I'd probably say one of those three. Probably Arteta because of his ability. And then again, we've got hammers, so I'd like, you know what? I want someone who runs with the ball. I want someone who picks the ball up, a little bit like Harvey Barnes did for them yesterday, and takes the responsibility, picks it up, and just runs with the ball. And there's one player, and I'm not going to name him because I know I'll get a lot of stick for it. He sort of was the Moyes era, but he was more the Martinez era. You know who I'm talking about, and I'm not even going to name him. Women says, hey Phil, how you doing? Philip says, Tim. Aaron says, question though, with the fans in the ground, would the Everton fans find that second half tactical change acceptable? Well, again, I think what we have to do is accept that with this current squad, especially when we've got key players out, we have to do what's necessary to get results. And that tactic and that tactical change gets results. Very recently, it's got an awful lot of wins for us. Yesterday, it got a point for us. I'd rather that than us go out, try and play unbelievable football, just get completely turned over and concede 3 or 4 goals and lose the game. When we've got our full strength squad back, i.e. Alan, Decore, Hammers, Richarlison, Dean, Godfrey, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, etc., maybe we won't play that type of football. But whilst we've still got key injuries, Carlo Ancelotti has to make use of what he's got, and ultimately that's going to mean some tactical changes. Phil says, hey, Wayne's still a bit pissed about dropping 2 points. Wayne says, I'm still pissed we haven't signed a right back. He also says, I will take that point, just a bit disappointing because we could have won if we hadn't shit our pants. Exactly, mate, exactly. And ultimately, Sorry, I've just hit that message there by accident, Wimmy. I didn't mean that. Ultimately, we do take the point. It is frustrating, but we take the point. Wimmy says Richie was class defensively, covering right while allowing James to be all over the place. Dante says we're doing way better than last season. The new lads have made the difference spot on. And Wimmy says Pienaar. Yeah, I'd probably agree. Pienaar is definitely up there. But no, I agree. Look, it's not a bad result. It wasn't a fantastic game of football to watch, but like I said, whilst we've got injuries, whilst we've got key players out, we have to adapt the tactics and we have to do what we need to do to get results. And ultimately, maybe on some occasions, that is put 11 men behind the ball and just defend and hope that, you know, we can keep them out. But defensively, we've been excellent recently. Absolutely excellent. It's not like it's been lucky. It's not like the opposition teams we've played have been absolutely dreadful. Yerry Mina, Michael Keane, Ben Godfrey and Mason Allgate have put in 8 out of 10 performances every single week for the last 6, 7, 8 weeks, barring the West Ham game. So it's not the fact that we're lucky, it's the fact that we've defended very, very, very well. And when we get Alan back into this team in a couple of weeks' time, when we get Decore back into this team, I think we'll settle it down an awful lot more. Wimmy says never getting turned over with that back line, just need to get confidence, shut our defence. Shut our defence down was unnecessary. I agree, mate. I agree. Anyway, that's going to do it for this live stream. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. We will be back on Friday, tomorrow, with another live stream. 4:20 PM. We'll be live with the game preview ahead of our Premier League game against Newcastle United on Saturday. We'll then have the weekly news roundup up as well, so don't forget to check that one out. I really, really would appreciate that. A massive, massive thank you to everybody for watching. Really, really do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. If you're watching a YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. 1878, DST says hit the like before you go. People, thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate that. Yeah, not an awful result. Not a fantastic second half performance, but we take a point. We take a point against a side like Leicester all day long. Massive thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.